In this particular video, we're going to do part 2, talking about the beast rising up out of the sea and how that beast is the stone that breaks the image into pieces that's talked about in the book of Daniel, chapter 2. Keep watching. Okay, welcome back to another video. If you're new to my channel, of course, consider subscribing. What I go over in my content is esoteric and exoteric research in retrospect to how it influences you and how by being on a more pious lifestyle, how that can help you in your soul journey on obtaining the mysteries of the light in a better way. Okay. Now I am going to be working and completing this course, of course, and I'll leave a link, of course, to that underneath the like button in the description area if you're interested in learning more about that. Okay. In this particular video, if you didn't see the last video, I have my notes here. I was dealing with in the book of Revelations where it deals with the in 13 where it talks about the beast rising up out of the sea. I'll also link that underneath the like button for you. This video is going to go along with that. Okay, I want to kind of try to keep this as structured as possible, but just to do a quick recap, let's just turn to the book of Revelation, chapter 13, real quick, and stay tuned toward the end of this video. I'll have a little bonus for you that'll help you in your studies. So in Revelation chapter 13, how it talked about a particular beast, it talked about 7 heads and 7 horns and so forth. And what we were dealing with is talking about how those particular 7 heads were 7 discs that you actually are going up through from within, and those horns are the 10 entry points of the body that you can gain crowns to once you start shaking off the ignorance, because the civilization of deception, based on my research, has been trying to control you and manipulate you through those horns. And that's how we precept that in the book of Revelation chapter 13, dealing with the beast rising up out of the sea. So rising up out of the sea is synonymous with rising up out of your lower self, reaching the higher abodes that were actually meant for you. And we're going to go on that in this particular video. So going along with my notes here, Psalms 83, of course, there's a Psalms 83 series, part 1, part 2, part 3. I'll also link that in the description area for you also, because in there it talks about how these particular groups came together and decided to say, hey, let us cut them off from being a nation to where their name will be no more in remembrance. So how they actually did that, of course, is by causing you to get disassociated with your higher selves and then trapping you in lower vehicles and causing you to have rough experiences there, okay? So in this particular video, let's go ahead and get into that real quick. So then we have, obviously, Revelations chapter 18 deals with who did it. And if you don't know about that, it's talking about the unclean birds, the hated birds, the detestable beasts, the foul spirits and so forth, and the devils and everything. So when those lands became vacant, meaning you were cast out of those lands. Now let's get that in the book of Joel real quick. So let's turn to Joel. We're going to look at Joel chapter 3 so we can see what it's talking about, because in this image that we're going to go over in this video in the book of Daniel, you know how you have the head of gold and then you have the arms of silver in the chest area. So what we're going to go over in this particular video is we're going to show that the so-called tribes of Israel and the tribes of Judah are actually those ones who were cast out of those areas. So let's get that in Joel here. Just give me a moment. Let me turn there. Let's just start at line 1. It says, "For behold, in those days and at that time, when I bring back the captives of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations now and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will enter judgment with them there on account of my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations." Okay? They have also divided up my land. They have cast lots for my people, have given a boy as payment for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they may drink. Indeed, and then it goes in to say what these guys have to do with them. But then in line 5, it says, "Because you have taken my silver and my gold and have carried into your temples my prized possessions, my prized possessions. Okay. Also, the people of Judah and the people of Jerusalem you have sold to the Greeks. Okay, that you may remove them far from their borders, and their borders are those areas of the gold and the silver. Because and like I said, I have that bonus for you at the end of this video. So then let me keep precepting here with the notes, of course. So let's go ahead and turn to the book of Daniel real quick. So let's look at Daniel chapter 2. And I'm going to try to keep this as structured as I can. I'll leave all these reference points underneath the like button for you. But in Daniel chapter 2, of course, this is when we're dealing with this image. And we have the head of gold, we have the arms and the chest of silver, we have the waist area of brass, and then we have the iron and so forth, and then we have the iron that's mixed with clay. So what it appears here is those lands that have fallen, that have become the habitation of those devils and unclean spirits and detestable beasts and hated birds and hateful birds and all that kind of stuff. It looks like we're dealing with an image. Remember, it says this body of Christ, right? So if you look at yourself as being able to dwell within the highest versions of yourself, once you are moving up and working out the workshops of the body, then you're able to dwell in the higher versions of yourself, and you set yourself up to also dwell in other bodies as well. So remember how it talks about this body of Christ, okay? So in here, it looks like through manipulation, Psalms 83, you are cast out of those regions and placed into the lower areas, and by manipulating you by your senses, have been keeping you there through procreation, because you have been splitting yourself up through that. And then with the iron, of course, is an area where you have to get detached from. So if you're trying to be that stone or that beast that rises up out of the sea, then that means, of course, dealing with the iron. Let's associate the iron with detachment. So now you're detaching yourself from the systems of this world, And we went over that in part 3 of Psalms 83, talking about how the birth certificate could possibly be one way that they're tying you to certain systems, and then there's other things that you also have to detach from. So let's look at the iron as being oppression. So oppression will be these particular systems that are based on the commodities that a certain species might live off of. So then you're detaching from that, okay? Now the 10 toes areas, obviously that deals with the divine formulas and you gaining your horns, your crowns back on those horns. So there's certain types of things in that law or in those divine instructions that helps you gain those crowns back. So let's look at that clay mixed with iron. You disassociate yourself by now associating yourself up with a divine law. So now you're detaching yourself from the systems of the world in terms of how they do things when it comes to the senses of the body. Then you're detaching yourself when it comes to certain systems, okay? Now once you're moving up and you're moving up in that body, then you're coming in contact with the brass, and that it looks like where the power is. It looks like the power is in the sea. So then in the brass area, of course, it looks like you're dealing with temptation, because you're dealing with the thighs and the midsection and so forth. So then you have that temptation, of course, that you have to work through, and then there's trials and tribulations that you might experience there, because then you have to be doing this thing in spirit and in truth, and then you're getting back to those regions which were for you. Because remember, it said they had taken the goodly pleasant things, which was the what? Silver and gold. And remember, the heart area, it dwells in the silver. Well, your heart is your mind, but if you want to look at it from a scientific perspective just a tiny bit, then you have the heart area, and it says that's where the priests are located, okay? The priests are in the Levi are in the heart area. So then you have the chest of silver, you have the arms of silver, and then you have the head of gold, which is what you're supposed to be working yourself back up to. So precepting with that video, it appears that what has happened, of course, is through this crafty counsel, you have been cast out of the higher regions, okay? And then you have been placed into their temples. And remember, it says that, there are those that say that they're Jews, meaning they say that they're jewels, okay, and they are not, but they're the synagogue of Satan, meaning they're the synagogue of the lower self. And these are these particular systems and structures that have been set up to monetize and to basically create business structures around those senses. And then you're dealing with possibly the 10 kings or the 10 particular ones at the top of those particular structures, whether it be healthcare or whatever the case may be, but it all kind of deals with those particular entry points of the body, okay? So that's what I wanted to go over in this video. Now the bonus, I want to keep this one kind of short because my filming setup is a little bit different, but what I wanted to also, I'm going to link this guy's video. He did a video talking about chronology, and I'll put that link underneath the like button for you. But it's very interesting when you look at the so-called New Testament as opposed to the Old Testament. It appears that it might be done in reverse. So, like for example, what we're talking about is how you've been cast out, the lands have fallen, and they become the habitations of something else. So while you've been taken into their temples, which is the lower self, they've been operating in the places that had become vacant, okay? And then they've been basically riding on you. Remember I believe it's in Revelations chapter 17, line 3, it talks about this woman that is sitting upon a scarlet. Remember, the word scarlet is red, and it says a red beast. So red is synonymous with the lower self. It says she's sitting on that, okay? And she has a cup filled with all kinds of abominations and everything, and she has the horns and all that kind of stuff. So then what you're doing is you're basically, through this process of attaching yourself up with some divine instructions, that's how you're shaking her off of that particular beast, and you're destroying her power, which is in the sea. Her power is in the sea, and they deal with the illusion very, in terms of your senses, your perception of sound and sight and so forth. Some of you who are basically probably ascribing to some of this stuff, or probably have noticed that you're actually starting to hear things. We'll get into that in other videos, but what I wanted to go back to real quick is that it's very possible that this process of you going around and you sharing this information, and then this whole process of something taking place from within you to try to get you to be crucified on your cross, And then now you're going back to the Exodus, where you're rising up out of the lower self, and you're going through the various different regions from within you, battling and going against those who dwell there, while you're getting back to the places that were meant for you. So it's very interesting when you look at it like that. So it's very possible that how you would look at it is that it's been done that way to kind of keep people in cyclicity. But what you want to do is you want to stop basically externally sending out your the essence, okay? That is continuing the world of the civilization of deception. So it appears that at one point your vision was different, but then as the vibratory rate fell, then the matter or the physical places of existence became more visible, and then the other locations where you did procreation maybe in a different kind of way became less visible. So then it appears that the reason why they're pushing for you to interact with other beings that might just be elevated from the animal level is to carry on their existence. So it appears that this Christ is this oil that's supposed to rise up from within you, and when you go through that process, that's how you become that beast rising up out of the sea, and then you destroy her power, which is in the sea, and you gain back those crowns to place on those 10 horns as you go up through the various different discs that are from within you. And remember, the first bottom disc is red, and right now, if you have not gone through the process that we're talking about, then that means that that woman that has the cup that's filled with all those abominations is actually riding on you, and her power is actually in the sea. So we want to destroy that power by giving you the tools that you need so you can go the rest of the way. So in this video, I just want to give you some quick study points. Maybe I'll go in a more deep way in terms of explaining all of this, but I'm just trying to use the resources that I have available today to make sure that I continue to provide this content to you. And if you have any questions or comments, especially about this video, let's go ahead and have that chat in the comment area, and I'll see you in the next video.